Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday and welcome to ACCP's CSR Marketplace virtual program. This session is our very first of the virtual programs that we are kicking off this week. And we are excited to start today's session from hourly workers to the C-suite, giving programs that benefit all, hosted by Fidelity. My name is Lacey Gayton, ACCP's Vice President of Content and Learning, and I am so glad you are able to join us today. For those of you who may be new to ACCP, the Association of Corporate Citizenship Professionals, we are a membership association working to improve the effectiveness of corporate social impact professionals. We connect our members to the people, knowledge, and resources that they need to enhance the impact they're having in their companies and in their communities. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone that this is just one session of several that we will be hosting this week. On this slide, what you will see is our CSR Marketplace virtual schedule. There's still time to register for the remaining programs if you see one of interest. They are all being recorded, and so if you are unable to attend them live, we still encourage you to register because we will be making those recordings available to everyone who registers. We also have some other upcoming ACCP events, as we are committed to providing high quality programming that shares practical and actionable information with our audience. A couple of upcoming programs that I'd like to point out. We have a webcast on social investment and driving long-term CSR impact on September 28th. Our annual conference, which will be in person in Denver on October 16th through 18th. It is sold out at this point, but you can add your name to the wait list, and as space becomes available, we'll notify you if you're still interested in checking that out. If you are already registered, we are very excited to see you there. And finally, our Impact Measurement Summit, which will be a virtual event on December 5th and 6th. And if you want to just know about what other events ACCP has ongoing and upcoming, the best way to do that is by following our weekly newsletter, The Wrap, which is sent out every Friday. You can find a link to register for that at accp.org. Now, for just a few webcast housekeeping notes, we have enabled transcript and closed captioning for this. So you'll see on the screen how to adjust that if you want to see the full transcript, the subtitles, or take it down, how you can adjust that for what best suits your needs. We have also enabled chat for you to engage with other attendees and panelists throughout the webcast. Again, if you are trying to engage with everyone, just make sure that your message is going to all panelists and attendees. Finally, we will be using the Q&A feature to ask the panelists questions. If you see a question that resonates with you, feel free to click that thumbs up icon, and that will help upvote the question so we know that that's one that everyone really wants to hear an answer to. And we will have some time for dedicated Q&A. If you are at an organization that does block the Q&A, though, just one note, if you drop that in the chat to me, I can also make sure that that gets notified to our other panelists. So with that, I am really excited to turn it over to Jen Bahus, who is the Vice President of Philanthropic Consulting at Fidelity Investments, to kick off today's presentation. Jen, take it away.
Thank you so much, Lacey, and welcome everyone. I echo Lacey's thanks for joining us today. We're really excited for our conversation, and I'm always so grateful when folks choose to spend their very precious time with us. So thanks again for joining. I'm thrilled to be joined today by two amazing women working in the field of CSR. Carla Ibarra of NRG Energy and Monica Moradkhan of Wynn Resorts Limited. So thank you both so much for joining. Carla is based in Texas and serves as the Director of Corporate Social Responsibility at NRG. She leads the Positive NRG program, through which she manages the day-to-day operations of NRG's corporate social responsibility community engagement efforts. Carla is originally from Mexico and previously held positions at MSCI and Franklin Templeton Investments. And I think this is so cool, Carla. She also harnessed her entrepreneurial spirit and founded and co-owned a business prior to joining NRG. So thanks again, Carla. We're so happy to have you. And then Monica is based in Las Vegas and joined Wynn Resorts Limited in November 2017 as their Vice President of Community Relations. And Monica is responsible for the company's long-term community engagement strategy and objectives. Before joining Wynn, Monica was Director of Development and External Relations for the University of Nevada at Las Vegas's Division of Student Affairs. And also very cool, previously served as Executive Director of a state legislative caucus. So again, welcome, Monica. Thanks so much for joining us. So there we go. Our plan today is to share a little bit of new research that Fidelity recently completed with you in hopes of sort of setting some groundwork and leveling for our conversation. We'll then jump right into the panelist discussion and then leave some time at the end to hopefully answer some questions that you might have. So without further ado, I want to just talk a little bit about Fidelity and our expertise in this space. As we mentioned, my team is Fidelity Philanthropic Consulting, and we work with companies, individuals, and families to really achieve greater philanthropic impact. And for companies, this can include creating or implementing social impact strategies and workplace giving and volunteering programs, identifying nonprofit partners, managing grant-making programs, and even helping with impact reporting. And then also at Fidelity, we have Fidelity Workplace Giving, which is an online platform that helps companies manage their workplace giving and volunteering programs. And then lastly, Fidelity Charitable, which you might be familiar with. Fidelity Charitable is actually a separate 501c3 nonprofit organization that is a donor-advised fund sponsor and is also the largest grant maker in America. Fidelity Charitable offers donor-advised fund accounts for companies and individuals and really helps maximize charitable impact and hopefully potentially reduce some taxes as well. So Fidelity has a lot of experience in this space, and we're just so happy to be part of the conversation today. So as I mentioned, we wanted to start off our conversation talking about a little bit of research that Fidelity has just done. There was a lot that came out of it. I'm just going to share today some of the salient points for our conversation. If you're interested in learning more, though, please feel free to reach out to me afterwards, because I think some of this data is really great and might be helpful as a practitioner. So when we think about this research, I do want to just share with you a little bit of the methodology. Fidelity surveyed more than 2,200 employees, full-time employees. Just over 1,300 of them were folks who have retirement plans with Fidelity, and under about 900 of them did not. So they were eligible for a Fidelity retirement account, but not yet customers. So we wanted to get as broad a base of respondents as possible. And what we asked them was about their workplace giving programs and volunteering programs, and also try to think about how that relates to their personal well-being. So just to set the stage a bit, when we're thinking about the giving cycle and the benefits associated with giving and volunteering, we know that there are social benefits, emotional benefits, and altruistic benefits. So what a lot of people feel when they engage in these activities is a sense of connection. They feel positive feelings, positive emotions, like feeling accomplished and valued. And then they also feel like they're making the world a better place. Probably not news to any of us who do this work. Given all that's going on with the Great Resignation and the Great Recalibration, I think it makes perfect sense that employers should be focusing some of their time on the way their employees are feeling, and if they have a good sense of well-being in the workplace, and if they can bring their authentic selves and their interest to the workplace. And as we know, giving programs and volunteering programs are a great way to do that. We know from our survey that 95% of employees are giving or volunteering. That's huge. Even though coming out of the pandemic, maybe dollar amounts are going down a bit, engagement is not. And we also know that those individuals that volunteer or give really report having a lot of positive feelings around that. So again, altruism, feeling really like their life is made more meaningful by engaging in these activities, feeling sense of connection not only to their colleagues, but to their communities. And then these feelings of gratitude, being valued, all those things that we really want our colleagues and coworkers and employees to feel. So we asked employees why they engage in these activities. I don't think any of these are going to be a big surprise, but I did want to call out a couple that are going to be really, I think, germane to our conversation in a minute. So the feeling of that giving and volunteering is undertaken because it's important to give back to my community, that it allows me to express my values. I think that's a really important one. And again, we see this feeling of connection come up again in the responses. And then for those 5% of employees who are not engaging in giving or volunteering, and to put that in perspective, of the more than 2,200 people surveyed, we're talking about a really tiny sample size here of about 233 respondents. They're saying they can't afford to donate money or they don't have time to volunteer. Again, not super surprising, but some interesting ones for the number 3 and 4 on this list is, I think employees are expressing a bit of skepticism in giving, and is my money being used in the right way? Is it going to what I think it should be? And I think as employers, that gives us some food for thought. Can we open up more time for employees to volunteer? Can we do things that help them feel more confident in their giving? So think about that a little bit as we go into our conversation with our panelists. And then this was a really interesting finding, or this set of data here. We asked, obviously, about the well-being benefits of volunteering, and we saw that among people of color and LGBTQ plus individuals, there were certain responses that were really tracking much higher than for other communities. So the Hispanic respondents, Black respondents, Asian respondents really reported that giving helps them feel more connected to community, helps break down barriers, helps meet people, helps see a different side of colleagues, helps feel connected at work. And again, a couple of numbers highlighted there among the LGBTQ population. Giving helps break down barriers and lets me meet new people. So this, again, I think is a great way for us to think about the power of these programs in our workplace and how they can really help people feel connected and feel a sense of belonging. And that we're going to switch gears a little bit with this finding. We asked employees whether or not they felt their workplace giving programs, how they were doing. Were they really good? Were they excellent? Or were they fair or poor? And you can see that there's a strong correlation among those employees who said their workplace had an excellent or very good program and their overall job satisfaction. So 73% of employees who thought their employers were doing a good job with their workplace giving programs were also really satisfied with their job. And of those employees who said their workplaces had excellent or very good programs, 80% of those employees also felt a strong sense of belonging in the workplace. So while we know correlation is not causation, there is definitely a connection here that we thought worth noting for our conversation today. And so what makes a program excellent or very good in the eyes of employees? And you'll see here there were several things that rose to the top. First, senior leaders who are involved and showing with their actions that giving or volunteering is important were really important for those programs that are rated excellent or very good. And then the ones I really want to call out is 93% of the folks who felt they had excellent programs said their programs were easy to participate in through work. And 90% of individuals said there are many different kinds of programs for me to get involved with. And then also 87% felt that they were really aware of their program. So these ideas of senior leadership buy-in, a variety of programs to participate in, easy programs to participate in, and then making sure that employees know what's available to them, all were really important in making programs or making sure programs are well received by employees. So I'm going to pause there. We're going to change gears a bit, ask you all a couple of polling questions, and then we're going to jump into our panel discussion. So the very first poll, and please select all that apply for your organization. We'd like to know what kinds of roles or positions comprise your company's workforce. And again, you can select as many as apply to your organization. I think hopefully that's enough time if we want to show the results of that poll here in a second. Okay, so we've got a little bit of everything. So definitely a lot of salaried folks, a lot of hourly roles, shift workers, field or floor, factory workers, slightly less union positions. But okay, that's really helpful, I think, as we go into the next part of our conversation. And then the second poll, if we could put that one up, please. All right, so this is just to get a sense of what programs your organization offers currently. Again, you can select all that apply. All right, so I think if it looks like we're getting a good number of folks, we can probably close that out shortly. You all are doing all kinds of amazing things. So a lot of organizations doing some supply drives, definitely volunteer time off. That's great. Dollars for doers. That's great. We'll talk a little bit about that. Employee resource groups. I know that that'll be part of our conversation, and then matching programs, of course. All right. Well, thank you so much. I think that'll help myself and our panelists as we dive into our conversation. And I'd like to go ahead and get started with that. So Carla and Monica, I don't know if we can spotlight them or not. I think we'll just show that slide at the end, and we'll just, if we could turn off the slides, that would be great. Okay, I don't know if it's possible to spotlight our panelists, that would be great. If not, as I ask your questions, I'm sure they'll come on. So first of all, I'd like to start with just getting a sense, Carla and Monica, of your respective companies. If you could each share with us a little bit about how many employees you have, your geographic scope, and the kind of roles that the employees have in your organization. So Carla, if you'd like to start, that'd be great.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you for having us today. We're very excited to be here. I'm very excited to be here too. And I'm looking forward to the conversation. NRG is NRG Energy, I should say, although typically people do call us just NRG. It's a leading energy and home services company. And we like to say that we're powered by people and our passion for a smarter, cleaner, and more connected future. We are a Fortune 500 company. We are headquartered in Houston, Texas, but we operate across the United States and Canada. And we call ourselves a strong competitive energy markets and customer choice advocates. And so you'll see some of that like external purpose, external way of thinking about things reflected in how we offer our programs internally as well. And we currently have about 15,000 employees full time, I should say, and they're split between corporate and plant folks. And we'll talk a little bit more about the differences and how we tackle those too.
Great, thank you. Monica?
Morning or good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Jen, for this opportunity. So grateful to be part of this panel today. So Wynn Resorts is an integrated resort company that is based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. We have resorts in both Las Vegas and Boston domestically, and then we have operations and hotels in the Far East and Macau coast I'm going to just be focusing on our domestic initiatives for how we serve our community. With that, our workforce is really unique and diverse. We're a 24/7 industry, both here and in Boston. And that means that we have to figure out different ways to engage our employees, who make up about 10% of our 15,000 employees are at a supervisory level, meaning that they're salaried employees, and the rest are hourly. So there's a large makeup of team members to be able to cover ground in the communities that we serve. But again, I'm grateful to be here today. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. And so you're both from really different industries, but your employee base, I mean, really both of your companies are sort of 24/7, right? Energy needs are all the time. And then same thing, hospitality industry. So you've got such a great mix of workers that you're working with. So could you share with us a little bit more about your current employee engagement, social impact programs, and how you engage your employees? And maybe Monica will stay with you for this one and then go back to Carla.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you, Jen. Happy to share. So I really appreciate that in the survey respondents data, you shared with us that executive participation is really important. And that's really been key for us and how we've been developing our strategies over the past several years. So our executives are engaged at a very high level. I'll give you a couple examples. On Friday, we just had a nonprofit program. It was a leadership retreat where we brought together 300 representatives of our nonprofit community to Wynn, Las Vegas. And we had almost 40 executives who served as facilitators in that program. So it gave them the opportunity to be able to engage with our nonprofits. Additionally, we have executives in different groups who volunteer on a quarterly basis together out in the community. And this helps to elevate the visibility and impact that we're having. And it also shows the employees that they're dedicated. It's not just, we're going to show up one time a year. So it's been really successful for us to be able to involve executives in that capacity. Additionally, we do offer our workforce in Las Vegas 10 to 12 volunteer opportunities a month by partnering with a variety of organizations, and in Boston, about 3 to 5 opportunities a month. Additionally, because we are a 24/7 industry, we know that there aren't always opportunities for group volunteerism with the company. So we really promote our Dollars to Doers program to encourage personal volunteer time. And we have a brand new program called We Care Rewards, where we give out incentives based on volunteerism, because we know that personal component is very important and we want to recognize our volunteers. And lastly, we have a robust employee corporate match program. We have the highest in hospitality with a $75,000 maximum per year per employee, dollar for dollar. And this is for organizations that are in our local communities. But we did try something new recently. We activated a small campaign to see if there would be interest in supporting the Maui Fund, specifically under the Hawaii Community Foundation. And we're still in that pilot program. So we're trying to see if national disasters are an area of interest of support for our employees. So hope that's a comprehensive overview of a snapshot of what we do at the same time.
Yeah, I'd say you're pretty busy, especially with all those volunteer events every month. But a $75,000 match, and that is for every employee, regardless of how whether they're salary or hourly. Or wow, that's amazing. Very cool. And is there a minimum donation amount that you'll match?
There isn't. That's a good question. Well, technically there is 50 cents. So because we have line level employees, we want to make giving accessible to everybody. And what we do over the course of our marketing is we show people that, $1 is 3 meals to 3 square. It's our largest food bank in the state. So that way they can see that just because I can only give 50 cents, that your only 50 cents actually matters to people. And over the course of the year, you can donate X amount of meals with the company match.
That's wonderful. And what a great way to kind of put that in context for employees too. Okay, Carla, for you, same question. Just again, overall, what are your employee engagement and social impact programs, and how do you engage your employees?
Of course, thank you. Well, in reality, we have many ways in which we engage our employees. It could be celebratory moments like Employee Appreciation Day, to development programs to drive your own growth, professional growth. And the ones that I'm going to focus on are the business resource groups, or BRGs, how we call them internally, which are also typically known in other companies as ERGs, employee resource groups, but it's basically the same. We just try to make sure that all groups have a tie to the business. And I'm going to talk also a little bit about our corporate social responsibility program. But let me start with the BRGs. For us, we started in 2020, and so it's been now over 3 years that we've been running them. We have 16 active groups, and these groups span from diversity, equity, and inclusion, so protected classes, ethnicity-based groups, to career development, groups that focus on the well-being activities such as cycling, riding, cycling, hiking and running. We also have groups that focus on volunteerism. So it will depend, right? It varies from different types of activities, but they all provide a space for people to come together with that shared passion or that shared common interest, and to be safe to show that, to bring that authentic self. And so it speaks a little bit to your survey. And so we've seen amazing growth in the BRDs. We have 23% participation rate company-wide. And we also have this year, because after the pandemic, the return, it was a year and a half that it was a slow progress in coming back and having a mix of in-person, virtual, still very limited. But this year, truly, we honed in on the in-person activities, but we also maintained the virtual sessions. And so we saw a 28% growth in the first half of the year. And so that just speaks tremendously to how people are hungry for that interaction and for that safe space. And then on the social responsibility side of things, we have many programs, but the one that I'm fully responsible for, it's called Positive NRG. And so it's what we call our philanthropic arm at NRG. And so we try to focus on the positive side of everything that we do. That program offers multiple different, let's call them sub-programs, from Dollars for Doers, volunteering time off, donation matching, et cetera, et cetera. We have agriculture-based programs as well. And so we have a major event every quarter. Typically, the two strongest are Earth Month in April and Positive Energy Week, which is happening next week. It's our annual week of giving. Literally, everybody across the United States and Canada rolls up their sleeves and goes out and does an activity. And for the past few years, about 3 years, we've focused on addressing food security because of what happened with the pandemic. We've seen the impact it has in communities. And so it's allowed us to have a significant and measurable impact. But it's not the only way that we participate. However, the one thing that we always have to remind ourselves is that our job is to create the opportunities, but it is the employees that actually do the work. And so that's the beauty of it, is that we engage them we provide multiple options to engage, and they decide how they participate. And so we truly believe on the power to choose of how you give back.
That's great. And that's another thing we saw in the research, right? Having choice and having options is so important. So thank you for that. And also sounds like you have a very full plate. So appreciate your time today. So here's one, the next question, I guess I should say, is always one that I think about, and a lot of our clients ask me about, but we are living in a really charged climate, right? We're in a polarized environment, and so many companies struggle to provide employees with ways to feel a sense of belonging and be able to kind of live their personal values at work. And the data we shared just a second ago suggests that employee engagement programs, especially those ones that offer choice, really can honor employees' individual interests. So I'd love to just hear your thoughts on that and what you might have seen in practice, and any positive outcomes or any challenges that might present in your workforce. And Monica, maybe we'll start with you.
Thank you, Jen. Although we do live in polarizing times, I hope that everybody can agree that serving is important. Having compassion and delivering compassion with humanity is important, right? We know that there are people who are always going to be in need. And I can't imagine that there's anyone who wakes up and thinks, you know what, today I want a child to go hungry, or I want a senior to be on the streets. So what we do know, and not only just based on your data, is when we're observing our events, is how people feel and why they serve in that capacity. So we know that when we are in a time of crisis, people step up even more. So it's being able to maximize on the resources that we have to be able to activate doing good. So I'll give you an example. I briefly shared what we did with the Maui Strong Fund under the Hawaii Community Foundation. We're still in this pilot through the end of this month to see if there is a greater interest in helping outside of our local communities. And we were able to see that immediately our workforce did want to step up. But it was more than just giving donations online. We were able to activate resources that we have at the hotels to raise more funds. So what we did is we have a bulletin board in the back of house where donors could buy flowers and put their name on the board. It's something similar that you would see at a grocery store, right? If you're making a donation for Make-A-Wish or a different nonprofit. But what we also did was we wanted to be sustainable with this wonderful inventory we have of Alexa products that were removed out of all of our rooms and given to our department so we could clean them up and resell them. And we were able to raise funds that way. So we raised almost $60,000, or actually a little bit over $60,000 by taking something that would have maybe been looked at as, maybe reusable or maybe recyclable and put that to good. So I think it comes down to positioning your companies into how do you do good with other resources that you have too. We all have these great pathways to philanthropy, but maybe there's some resources that you can have access to that you can put to be able to raise funds or get people engaged. I'm sorry about the background.
Oh, I can barely hear it. But that's so great. And I love the idea of like sort of centering your activity on how it makes people feel, because, we do know that's really powerful. And Carla, what about you? How do you feel like you can engage employees and honor their interests and still, maintain footing in this sort of challenging time?
Well, I echo what Monica said. A good example for us is when we have a disaster, we always make an option for employees to donate and be matched, especially if it's a federally declared disaster, it'll be triple matched. And so we always give employees the option to do that. And sometimes we are not even done posting the page when we already have people reaching out to us and say, how can we help? How can we get involved? What are we doing? And if it doesn't matter if it's not right here in our backyard, we will come together and help. And so that's just echoing what Monica said about the disaster in Hawaii. But in general, like I said, we advocate for customer choice, and we do the same internally. And so we provide employees the opportunity for them to drive their growth, to drive their engagement. And I'll share an example of like personal to me, like that I was able to do because the company provided me a safe space, even though it wasn't during a complicated time. Back in 2020, I launched the OLA Club, which is our Hispanic and Latino BRG at NRG. And it was the first of protected class. It was the first that was ethnicity based. And so I remember when I wanted to do that, and I would ask two mentors, their thoughts on this. And one said, maybe you shouldn't do that. You could be labeled as the Hispanic girl. And so it might be polarizing. It's going to be complicated in this political environment. Another one said, you can't hide who you are. So why not embrace it and then do something, especially if you have the possibility. And so that's what I did. Yes, the environment can be complicated, but if we provide a safe space for employees to show that authentic self while being respectful of others and contributing to the workplace culture, what other better way to do that? And so that was my experience. And then after that, more groups, came to be. And now that group is in its second generation of leadership. And that speaks to that maturity. And the same thing can be said for our philanthropic program, which provides so many ways. You can choose to donate or not. You can donate and ask for the match or not. You can participate in our agriculture program, where you can buy a share of a farm and be reimbursed for a portion of that. You can volunteer time off. You can get rewarded for the time that you volunteer outside of work hours with donations that are going to go to that cause, etc. We have events happening every single month in the company with the 4 major ones, but every single month there's opportunities for them to volunteer as well. And so again, it's just providing the options that are neutral, that are inclusive, and that are culture building.
I love that one. I love how you said, this idea of choice is something on your customer side, but also internally. And I mean, that's one of the things I know we all know this, but the more closely your programs can align with your corporate values and your corporate mission, I think the more authentic and successful they are. So that's great. And thank you so much for sharing about that group that you started. That's amazing. So you all both have, again, a wide variety of workers as part of the organization who work in different types of roles. And I'd love to, and actually also our participants on the webinar today, it looks like they do as well. So I'd love to hear some of the challenges that you've faced in trying to make your programs accessible, especially to hourly or shift employees, and maybe hopefully also some of the successes you've had there. And maybe Carla will continue with you if that's okay.
Certainly, Jen. You know, in our case, most employees will be divided between office-based, regardless if it's a warehouse, a small office, a big office, but meaning they're behind a desk typically, and we'll have the plant employees. And again, there's more varieties within that, but overall, it's how we do it. You can see the divide between them. So when you are in an office environment, it's just a little bit easier to engage you. It's easier for you to perhaps take an hour to 4 hours away from your desk and from your operations, whatever it is, and then participate in either an in-office event or outside of the workplace. And so those folks, it's just a little bit just easier how we engage them, but we will provide opportunities in the office and we will provide opportunities outside. Like I said, Earthman, for example, gives them an opportunity to even just go outside and breathe fresh air. And so that is actually typically very welcomed by employees. The ones that it's a little bit more challenging and that we've had our share of lessons learned is the plant employees, because they are 24/7, 365, no matter if it rains, snows, it's 110 degrees outside or not. And so they are literally keeping the lights on for all of us. And so we have learned that in order to bridge that gap that we see between them is we have to meet them where they are. So for our plant employees, we typically find opportunities that are very close to them. That way they can more easily take a few hours outside or just even in 1 hour away from their shift. We also have a special program that we call Eco NRG that allows to use the grants of some of the plants to have projects with certain communities or certain organizations that are typically focused on ecology, biodiversity, some level of conservation, etc. And so they'll allow them to have that, you know, the access already there for these special projects. And we also have a special, very hyper local opportunities like supporting local Little League teams, or, you know, they participate in hyper local projects where they'll go and build something. Especially they are folks that have very technical skills or, you know, particular skills like craft skills, so they can help with those projects. And so those ones allows us to just be more nimble in the space and in the time that they can give us.
That's great. So like meeting them where they are. And again, that idea of making programs as easy as possible to access. Yes. That's excellent. And Monica, same for you. How do you engage your hourly or your shift employees?
Thank you, Jen. So similar to what we all do as corporations, we work with specific nonprofits that align with our pillars. And that's based on, you know, where the company sits on their layers of philanthropy. But what's also important for us as when we're engaging employees is learning about what their causes are, so we can be able to better match their passions with what our community needs. So I'll give you an example. We have a show at Wynn Las Vegas called Awakening, and the cast members, over 2/3 of the cast members are considered to be Generation Z. So in talking to their cast director, I learned that what's important to them is mental health. So rather than taking the group of employees, about 70 of them, to a food bank or an animal shelter, we are going to be having an on-property event specific to an organization called Find Your Anchor, where they're going to build kits that are purposely designed to support people who are in need because they are contemplating suicide. And this is something that's going to resonate with this group because, again, they care about mental health. And there's a component, well, they'll be writing care cards for these boxes. And we did something similar with our nightlife team, who has a very similar demographic. And we read through all of the cards to make sure there's nothing inappropriate before we seal them and send them off to go hopefully have an impact on people's lives. Well, it was really heartbreaking to read these cards because so many people wrote that they could relate to what the person was going through, but they promised them that life would get so much better and they have to keep fighting and they are loved. So that was a initiative that resonated with that demographic. And that's just an example of we're always looking for ways of how we can micro target. What becomes challenging for us is because we're a 24/7 industry, we can't have an event at midnight. Well, we've thought about a midnight madness, but we've thought about it. So maybe at some point we'll do something at the hotel, but there's no nonprofit that will have an opportunity at that time of day. So we try to engage our different shift employees into the fundraising side of serving our community as well. So looking at how do you, again, maximize on your assets? I know we're very unique. We have a hospitality company where we have chefs. So we have our chefs who don't typically have time to go out into the community, create these beautiful baked goods that we then are able to sell to our employees, and the company matches all those funds raised. So with that, we have added a 7 a.m. bake sale and a late night bake sale as well. So that way we can cover all of the shift times to try to engage them in that type of community. Volunteerism is something that we all want to do, but sometimes you can't volunteer, right? Sometimes it's just the financial side, and that's where the bake sales come in, so we can at least try to get people to participate. But it's also looking at your workforce and seeing what makes sense and learning more about what their causes are. That's been really successful for us. We could all sit in a boardroom every single day and think we know what the nonprofits need or think we know what the employees want, but without bringing them together, we won't really know. So we have different round tables, and we don't put a lot of strategy and overthink it. We get people from different departments, different demographics, different shift times, and we bring them together and we ask them what they want, similar to what we do with the nonprofits. So we can better design good programs.
So that's amazing. And I think what really resonates with me is the idea of like listening, right? Because we're always talking about we should be listening to our nonprofit partners, and we want them to tell us what's going well and what isn't. And same with employees. I love that. That was a great example. And also, who wouldn't want a baked good at midnight? So that works out. I think that's just a win-win across the board. So thanks for sharing those. So aside from return to office, and I know, Monica, you all, once you were back operating, you were full force, everybody back to usual. And Carla, your world, or at least like the corporate side of it, was a little bit like a lot of us, like sort of easing into coming back to the office. But we're still talking about talent wars and quiet quitting and the great resignation or great recalibration. And many companies are looking to programs like giving programs or volunteering programs as a way to really boost talent retention and talent development. And I'm just curious if you all are doing that at your companies, and if so, how's it going? Is there a good outcome, or is the jury still out? And Carla, maybe we'll start with you.
I think I talk to so many employees. I'm very fortunate that in my role, I get to work with many different teams, departments, offices, work locations. I visit plants, etc. And invariably, every time I visit one, every time I'm talking to someone, or I read our survey results, I see the impact our work has. I see how it provides employees. A company has a culture, right? But it provides the employee a way to feel more connected to the culture, to their teammates, to their communities. And you can measure some of that. And of course, there's part that you can't, but you will see it in your participation numbers. You will see it in how many people volunteer, how many hours they log, how much they donate, or just in general, how many times you get asked like, hey, I want to do this, or how can I get involved, or how can I be a part of X project? And so you'll start seeing some of that. And in our case, we do a pulse check every year. And so this year, still, the results are still being processed. But last year, we saw 83% of employees said that they believe that the NRG has an inclusive environment. And so that it speaks to not only being able to participate at programs, but also we do the best we can to make sure that everybody is included. And they also 74% said that they believe that the company values them as an employee and as a person, and that we provide opportunities for them to feel that. And so those are just two stats to share. And while there isn't a specific question about our CSR programs, invariably people will say one of the reasons why I feel more connected is because I have this opportunity, is because I can see the blue shirts that we wear, and I know that somebody was out in the community. And every week you will see someone wearing a blue shirt, and it shows how people are going out there and how they're being part of it. And so finally, one more thing that I can share is recently we were talking to some folks, and they said that they were benefited by an organization where we volunteer and where we had donated to. And so sometimes we forget that our employees are members of a community, and they may be participating with a nonprofit in a different capacity, and it goes full circle. And so that's pretty incredible and something that we're very proud of.
That's amazing. And thank you so much for sharing those statistics. And that's something I imagine you're all very proud of. So very cool. And Monica, same question for you. How do you feel like your programs may help to support talent retention and development? What are your thoughts on those ideas?
Thank you, Jen. Well, we always hope that what we're doing makes a difference, beyond the walls of our resort, but also looking within of how it supports our employees and morale. So our industry is very unique. We're not only being 24/7, but you have people of so many different types of position levels and where they're at progressing in their careers. So I always try to emphasize to our team, it's how you treat people within our buildings as well. One of our core values at our company is to care about everyone and everything. So we try to interweave that every single day. If we see a janitor, myself or a team member will thank them for keeping our resort beautiful, whether it's behind in back of heart of house or if it's public facing, and building morale that way. Employee morale has always been big in hospitality because we have a belief, especially at Wynn Resorts, that happy people make people happy, right? And how they make them feel. So we know that if employee morale is not at a good place, it's going to show in how our customers are treated, and our guests are going to choose a different resort and they're not going to come back. So I can't emphasize enough how important it is for you to be able to treat your employees well and look for those touch points, and to also thank them, because we're so used to, we joke in our department of, we are the please, thank you, and sorry department, because we're always asking for something. We're always thinking, and we're sorry because it's the last second, or we had to pivot because something came up. So it's really honing into on how are you thanking your employees. I think there is a correlation. You talk about causation isn't always correlation, but I do think that there is a correlation with how you treat your employees and how you express that appreciation to get them to keep coming back, and also offering opportunities for us to encourage our employees to bring their family members and their friends. We have seen that has really helped with morale, because people are proud to work here. They want to do good in the community, and they want to bring along their family and friends for the experience. So looking at what are the types of offerings that you can allow your employees to bring children to, or family members, and we invite our nonprofits as well. So it gives our employees that touch point, to be able to engage a few times a year at one of our large scale events called Feed the Funnel, where we pack hundreds of thousands of meals over the course of a few days, and we bring as many people together, but we include those nonprofits because maybe that's the only time a employee will get to engage with a variety of nonprofits. So hopefully that answered your question, but morale is super, super big in our industry because it's going to affect the outcomes of the guest experience.
That's great. And really in any industry, I love what you said, like you can tell when someone's happy, right? And all of us have customers or stakeholders that we're responsible to. And then the other thing that you both touched on was this idea of like your overall culture and your overall values. And I think that's so important that these programs align with and support what your company stands for. And it's sort of how you live that out day to day, not only with your customers, but your employees. And these programs, I think, are a great way to do that. So I want to be mindful of time, and we're a little after 2:00 and we end at 2:15 Eastern. But I'll end with like one question for you both, and then we can see if there are any questions from the audience. And Monica, maybe I'll start with you. What a wonderful discussion. And I'd love to just sort of learn a little bit about what you're planning next for your programs. I know you've got a pilot underway, but what's coming down the road in 2023 and 2024?
Thank you, Jen. That's a great question. I don't think a day goes by in our department, aside from us apologizing, saying please and thank you, that somebody of our team doesn't say that we're excited for either something that we're working on or what's coming ahead. So we just had this extraordinary program on Friday that really lifted up not only our company, but our nonprofits with our nonprofit leadership retreat. And we're going to have the same program in 2 weeks at Encore Boston Harbor. So we'll be bringing together about 140 representatives from the nonprofit sector, and we will have a panel which will include philanthropists. So we have Josh Kraft and a few other business leaders who are going to talk about personal philanthropy. We're going to have a fireside chat with the EVP of Community Relations for the Boston Celtics. And we have our president of the hotel who is going to be focusing on multi-generational management. Because if you look at our workforces, we've got everyone from Gen X, Gen Z, baby boomers, how they're managed and how you manage them is completely different than, how you would manage, let's say, just the millennial generation. And there's a few other components, and we have a motivational speaker, Dr. James Rouse. But we're also going to be going into some of our we call this our Super Bowl season. I think all of us can relate to that, right? This is the heights. People ask us, when is it quiet? It's not, because we're always serving in some type of capacity, but we're going to be going into the heights. Global Giving Tuesday is something that our company is very involved with. And at both Wynn Las Vegas, Encore Boston Harbor, and sometimes in Macau, if it makes sense with their programming, we expanded to giving season. So we'll be having about 10 days of activities from Thanksgiving onward. We're still going to keep up with our different programs in our regular volunteer offerings. And we also have a leadership development program called the Nonprofit Leadership Fellows, specific to Las Vegas. We're looking to expand to Boston next year and looking at ways that we can better develop relationships with donors. And that's something that I'm very interested in being able to learn too from other companies of how do we say thank you to our donors? It's more than that automatic email that is sent once somebody makes a donation. How do you cultivate them? There was a donor at our company that everybody said he would never give. Don't spend your time on him. And he ended up becoming our highest donor at 50,000 at the time when our match was 50,000. So it comes down to cultivation, but how do we better thank people and steward them until, elevating their philanthropy? And that's a snapshot. I could talk all day about what we're doing because I love what I do. And I'm just grateful to you, Jen, for this opportunity. And Carla, really grateful to be in your company.
Thank you so much, Monica. And so we'll need to do this in like a year or two and kind of see where all these plans go. And Carla, same for you. What's coming up at the end of this year and into next year?
Well, I mentioned earlier that Positive Energy Week of Impact or Impact Week is coming up next week. And so it's the first time that we're offering Saturdays. We're trying to be mindful of our, some of our unplanned employees and some of the ones that are just a little bit more limited with time during the week. And so we're very excited that we're going to try that this year and we'll see how that goes. And so, of course, delivering on that, we are already past the number of people that participated last year. So we're very excited for that. We still have a week of registrations. And so we're looking forward to that. And this year, we're going to try something different for Season of Giving. Giving Tuesday is also something very big for us. Last year, we raised over $85,000 at that day. And so hopefully this year we'll be on the same level. But we're actually going to have 3 weeks of drives and activities that are going to happen in multiple locations. And so we're very excited to deliver on that and to, end the year on a high note and then get started for 2024.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And $85,000. Wow, that's great.
Yes,
well, thank you both so much. This was such a rich conversation, and I'm just grateful for your time and your expertise. It looks like we have at least one question in the chat. This one was directed to me, but I'd like to answer and then also hear what you all think. And the question is, given the research that we shared and also experience working with a variety of different companies, have you seen any trends regarding missed opportunities for social impact programs? And that's a really good question. And I do love to focus on the positive, but I do realize there are also opportunities, we'll call them opportunities and not necessarily missed opportunities. But the opportunities that I always see is kind of one of the things that we've talked about here. And that's not necessarily or not aligning your programs with what your company stands for and does well. And I think that's something that makes your programs authentic and easy to understand and easy to implement. And I think those are the programs that are sort of like company driven. But I think the other sort of, again, missed opportunity, if we're going to say it that way, is limiting too much what employees can engage in. We see a lot of folks and help them, for instance, set up their match programs. And I think a lot of times, especially if they're new to it, companies will go in and say, oh, well, we only want to match this kind of set of organizations and we want to leave these out. And then they come to us and say, we're not really getting great participation. Why is that? And, I think that what the research has shown us and just practice has shown us that, again, people want to do what they care about. And certainly they also probably care a little bit about what the company cares about, but their personal values are what drives them. So once we offer employees more choice, we see more and more engagement. And I don't know, Carla or Monica, if you have anything you'd like to add on that one.
I would love to be able to look at companies who perhaps offer sabbatical volunteerism. I do think that's a space that
love that.
I've gotten really involved with. And, it would be amazing if it could work for our industry. Like paid volunteer time off doesn't work for us. We can't tell the canine team to leave your post and go volunteer, or the table games dealer to do the same. But maybe there is some type of component of working in with our We Care Rewards program with volunteerism to, do a sabbatical project somewhere. So that's something I think that could be an opportunity for companies to look at, that I'm interested in learning about too.
That would be amazing.
I would say, Jen, don't try to be everything for everybody, right? You, as a company, you can't support absolutely everything under the sun, because there's so much money, there's so much time that you can dedicate to things. So you really have to choose a couple of things and then hone in on that. But as an employee, limiting would be a disaster. So, providing that variety of options, like you said, that's what gets you the participation, and that allows people to guide their giving.
Yeah, and absolutely agree 100%. Companies kind of need to have like focus and have a vision or for what they're trying to accomplish. So yeah, totally agree. And I'm sorry, another question is coming in. But anyway, thank you both for weighing in on that one. The other question that has come in is, what types of roles and groups do you engage with across the company to ensure you're maximizing programs? So other than ERGs. And I read that to be like not only other groups, but maybe even other departments or other internal influencers, perhaps.
I have a good answer for that one, if you don't mind, Monica, jumping in. In this year, we started what we call the ad hocs. And so it's an opportunity for teams to have an ad hoc volunteer or community driven or based in activity for their team building or as part of their agendas. This year, because of a lot of meetings are now back in person, people, teams are having offsites, or they're just getting together, traveling to a single location, meeting up there. And so we have providing opportunities that can be curated for their either mission, their agenda, their time, something they want to focus on. Sometimes, for example, if talent acquisition wants to do something that is going to be aligned with them, instead of having them go and sort food at the food bank, they can then go to an organization and review resumes or practice mock interviews. So having that ability to provide ad hocs has allowed us to engage departments and divisions in a very different way than what we have traditionally. And it is also an opportunity outside of ERGs.
That's awesome. What a great idea. Monica, anything to add there?
Never leave any stone unturned. So we really have to, work on everybody. And that's something that we really focus on at all of our resorts, is making sure, regardless of your position, that we're getting you engaged in some capacity. We do have volunteer events that are specific to departments. And when we produce our monthly marketing materials, we'll showcase on there that on this day at this, volunteer opportunities can be led by, let's say, the SW team, the steakhouse team. So we make that known to the workforce that event is being led by a specific department, to try to champion not only for our community, but to get other departments involved and engaged. And it's just an exciting time.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I don't know if we have any other questions. We'll give maybe one more opportunity if anyone has some questions to pop in.
And while we're waiting for any final questions to pop in, Jen, will you share with us, we'll get the slide back up with some details, but how can people, if they're interested, kind of keep this conversation going with you all?
Yes, so please feel free, if you want to talk more about the research, any of the topics we discussed today, or any of the work that my team or Fidelity does, we'd love to chat with you. You can reach us at philconsulting@fmr.com. And funny enough, that's not anyone actually named Phil, even though I often get Dear Phil in the inbox. It's actually short for Philanthropic Consulting. So email us at philconsulting@fmr.com, and we'd be happy to either connect you to any of our speakers or talk with you about any of the topics today. And then we're also doing an in-person impact measurement workshop, really focused on how companies can better embrace trust-based philanthropy. And we're doing that session at the ACCP Live conference in Denver. So if you're there, we'd love to have you join us for that as well.
Awesome.
And again, I wanted to thank Carla and Monica for joining us. Monica, I know you're coming off like a week of events, and Carla, you're going into a week of events. So I really appreciate your time and really your candor and your expertise.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
I would like to echo that thanks. Monica, you said in one of your statements that you could talk about this all day because you love what you do, and it showed with all of you the passion behind the work that you're doing, and we could hear that loud and clear with everything that you were sharing, and we appreciate you sharing your knowledge and your candid stories about how you're working through all of this. For all of our attendees, we are also so grateful for you spending time with us this afternoon and would really appreciate your feedback. We're going to pop up a quick QR link. It's just 4 quick questions. Really helps us know, what was helpful to you, what you would like to know more about. There's also the link that was just dropped in the chat if you can't get that QR code working for you. But please take a few moments to complete this very quick survey. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope to see you at an upcoming ACCP program. Have a great rest of your afternoon, everyone.